All right, here for the daily with Wayne, who's got his smart new shirt on.
Yeah. Well, I'm planning to rock up to an away game and see if we can just sneak onto the pitch. You know, was it
Maybe.
Call Power? Can you remember Call Power?
Yeah, he did it a few
Around the
times. Yeah,
turn of the century, the famous one was against Bayern, where there was like that was so funny.
took the
What a
picture of the
lad!
team. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
great stuff. Yeah, you
amazing.
are bald, so I don't know whether you'd make it as a player, but I bet you could pass off as a coach. So
One of the managers. Yeah, what I'll do is instead of the kit, well, I'll dress up in like a suit and a bomber jacket, and then just sort of slip into the fold. Yeah, easily
yeah,
done.
Wayne
And
van der Barten, new coach of United. Yeah, good stuff.
finally something trendy about me. I love it. Changed my surname. I love it. Thanks,
Well,
Ed.
we were just talking off air how you're famous in various parts of Brazil for being a Botafogo fan. So
Yeah,
good stuff. Oh well, okay, we're not here to talk about that. That's for another day. We'll do that on the main pod someday. We're going to talk about the Europa League phase draw. Oh, what a sexy phrase that is. Jesus. Okay, let's talk a little note on the format first, and get your reaction to what you think of that, and then we'll talk about some of the ties because there's some interesting games in here. It's where the real football happens, the Europa League. None of this fancy pants Champions League stuff. Real games, or in fact, not. It's the Western Champions League, which is the Champions League, versus the Eastern Champions League, which is the Europa League, as
yeah.
you'll see. So format: 36 teams. Sort of a Swiss format. I say sort of because chess people get very mad, apparently, that you would call this a Swiss format because you'd redraw after every round in a proper Swiss format. But in this one, 36 teams, 8 games, 4 home, 4 away. They're drawn sort of at random from seeded pots.
Yeah.
So pot 1, pot 2, pot 3, pot 4, based on UEFA coefficient. And United are obviously in pot 1. I say obviously, but I think because we've got the Europa League final on there, lots of Europa League points, coefficient points from that one. That will drop off at some point. Mm. And the top 8 go through in this league format from 36. Rankings 9 to 24, then play off against each other to make the next 8. And they play the top 8 in the round of 16. All make sense?
Yeah. You know when you're making something to eat and you screw the recipe up just a little bit, but you've got to keep going, and you just keep screwing it up, and you know it's going to taste disgusting, but you're stuck at that point, so you just keep putting more and more stuff in. That's European football. Every single competition since like the
Pretty
late
much.
90s. It is. I mean, the Cup Winners' Cup and the UEFA Cup were like straightforward format. And all right, maybe something was tired in there and they wanted to sort of rejuvenate it. But I mean, there's only so much you can do. And obviously, in the last sort of 5 or 6 years, the Europa League and the beautifully named Conference League, which sounds, if you want to make something sound unappealing,
Shit. Yes.
yeah, but that's the way to go about it. I mean, I just feel like there are people in UEFA in the strategizing department and the competitions and rules area who don't seem to have the finger on the pulse of things, because I think now I feel like it's so crap, all of like what they've done to European football, that it is going to take some kind of a reset, a European Super League, if you will.
Oh
But
dear. Oh dear.
but it does feel like because I'm definitely not a fan of that, but I feel like the more they're eating themselves, you know what I mean? They're making an inevitability, and it's so bad, Ed. I mean, look, we're in it. There's some good games, I should say. At the end of the day, you play a game of football, you try to win the game of football, and then you move on. But I mean, the entire setup of it is so convoluted, and they feel like that's what they're doing to try and re-energize, the re-galvanize the support, but it doesn't. I don't feel like
Yeah.
I don't feel like there's a proper consultation with this with the
Oh God, there was
fans
none.
about it. Yeah, no, I
No.
mean, talking over like a generational period because it's so bad.
This came out of discussions between the European Club Association, which is 150 clubs across Europe or something like that, and UEFA. And basically it goes, it's a gun to the head of UEFA. If you don't do what we want, we pull the trigger on the European Super League. And it's been like that over and over again. Yeah. And because broadcast markets are basically flat or gone to zero in the case of France, the only way of generating new revenue now is to create more games. And so they did this for the Champions League, this format, and it creates about 60% more games or something like that. Yeah, it goes 125 to 180 something, so 50% more games. And that's the way of extracting more from the broadcasters, but they got to about 28% extra money out of this cycle's broadcast contract. So, do the maths yourself. Each game is now worth less, but you've got more games. And then they copied the format for the Conference League and the Europa League. And I'm not sure there was any necessary reason to do that other than just copying the format because there isn't loads more money. There's going to be a growing gap between the wealthiest in Europe and tier 2 teams like us, Wayne. Yeah. The format itself, I have a kind of mixed feeling because if you listen to the UEFA boards talk about it, they say, it creates more competitiveness, and never talk about the money side of things, which is funny because that's exactly why it was done. More competitive. And I guess there's a sense in which a lot of the group games in the old formats were done after 3 or 4 games. You kind of knew, and it's the lack of quote unquote jeopardy that's the problem. That's what makes football exciting, sure. And here, does it create more exciting games? Well, I don't know, because 24 out of 36 will go through. Now, like 16 of those teams are going to have a playoff and an extra 2 games or whatever. So, you're basically, you had to be really, really shit to not get 10 games in this format. I don't know if it creates extra jeopardy, because what you're going to get is, after rounds 5 and 6 or something like that, a lot of clarity about who's going to go through in that top 8.
Yeah.
And who's not going to go through, because the shit teams will have lost 5 or 6 games or something like that. And then a whole bunch of dead games. So dead games at the top, dead games at the bottom, and maybe some edge case competitive games for, between places 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 for those top spots, and places 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 for getting relegated or knocked out entirely. You don't get relegated down to the previous division. So I'm not convinced about the extra competitiveness. That's on the negative side. And on the negative side, of course, it's just way too many games, like from both a broadcast perspective and a playing perspective. On the positive side, we've got some interesting games here. And I think for fans who like traveling, especially, there's going to be lots of interesting stuff here. Yeah. And we get different games than we would have done, because there's a whole bunch of teams we've never played before in here. So, anyway.
And some who we have. Rangers at Old Trafford is going to be very good. They've got Spurs at home as well in the first game, which is...
Are they going to bring 50,000 fans to Manchester, and like 3,000 will get in and the rest of them will destroy Piccadilly Gardens?
Well, that's what happened. That's why we got the Champions League final parade was postponed, because of the trouble in 2008 when they were down for, was it the Europa League final then?
Yeah, it was Europa League final, yeah.
So, and they were against Zenit St. Petersburg. Are they still existing, or are they like Rota Volgograd resigned to the...
No, I think they still exist, but they're banned from European competitions. Yeah, so, because of the whole Russia invading Ukraine thing.
Yeah. Well, it's much more serious than that. I mean, I want for them being out of Europe. Yeah, so, some good games in there. The Rangers one will be tasty. I'm looking forward to that.
Still, apparently, I was just looking it up. I was just doing some research. Research, Ed. I mean, amazing. Rather than just spouting opinions out of my arse, which I do 99% of the time. They're still apparently Scotland's most successful ever club by league titles. And
Well, some Celtic fans might have you call you to account there because this Rangers team is not the same Rangers team who went before, right?
it is a new co. It is a new co. They went bust and they reformed and yada yada yada. But they are still called Rangers, and I think Rangers fans would very much argue against the point that they are not the same club.
Hey, look, do you know, we are also a Phoenix club, risen from the ashes of Newton Heath. So, and that's very much part of our history. So I'm only joking about that. A lot of reunions in there. Some of our old players, and obviously, of course, the big one is Fenerbahce with the hat-trick scoring Fred, it seems.
That'll be Fenerbahce away. That is going to be some atmosphere at the. Excuse me for reading this second. The Sukru Sarakoglu Stadium, but that's going to be great. We don't know the dates of the fixtures yet. That's going to come out of the UEFA AI on Saturday. But that's going to be some.
Oh, is that right? Game. I thought that the Rangers was first. I thought that's what.
No, right, so they've just kind of listed them in. They've listed them in draw order, but we don't know the actual dates yet. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
That's going to come out the magic computer. Yeah, looking forward to a reunion with Jose and Fred. Fred's hat trick the other day was pretty good, actually. He enjoyed it a lot. Yeah, some good goals in there.
Yeah, and he scored a belter earlier in his Fenerbahce career as well, like a really good long range effort. And I remember thinking, sometimes the liberation of the pressure away from Old Trafford does a lot for that. You can make players look very different, but then again, that was the Fred we thought we were getting from Shakhtar, right? The attacking midfielder who scored worldies. And
well, he did just score that one for you. I forget who scored it against, where he curled it into the top corner with his right foot. And we're all like, hang on a minute, that's his swinger. What's going on here?
Yeah.
So, that's going to be great. And then we're playing PAOK at home. Pan Thessalonian Athletic Club of Constantinopolitans. God, I knew I was going to mess that up. Pan
I can't believe
Thessalonian Athletic Club of Constantinople. Italians. Yeah.
Very easy name to do there, I don't know.
Well, I'm just going to call them PAOK from now on.
That's okay.
They're from Montenegro in the sort of Thessalonian region of Greece, northern Greece.
Okay.
They've all settled their argument about what is called Montenegro now these days, haven't they? So we have North Montenegro and Montenegro, the part of Greece. They play in a kind of small stadium, the Tumba Stadium, so that should be fun.
Yeah, it's always nice to venture to new climes, and also Steaua Bucharest. Well, they're not. Well,
before we leave, PAOK Shola Shoretire is playing there.
Oh yeah, yep.
So another reunion. Yeah, good luck to him. I thought he'd make it at United for a lot of his reserve time, but he never really did.
Yeah, but you do get. There are a lot of players like that. Jimmy Garner, you just think they feel like the attitude that they've got, everything that they possess in terms of professionalism and contribution. You think that you can see them making that shift to the first team squad just to be around like a John O'Shea or Wes Brown. So when they do go, you know what I mean? There's an extra sort of sense of disappointment. And the thing is, like, obviously not every player can make it. United and Shoretire had some good moments for us. And I do think there's something to be said, and that it's not any comfort for anyone who's leaving United, and there are going to be a fair few today doing that. But there's something to be said about taking that attitude of Manchester United and putting it in another club. We talked about it on a previous podcast with Tony Pulis and all that, and it's good to see United represented well, although obviously he's got his own career to be thinking about much more importantly than the reputation of Manchester United. But it does as well when a player like that goes somewhere and represents himself and his past with...
Yeah, of course. I mean, United done very well in creating careers for younger players. And he's gone to the Greek champions. It might not be one of the top leagues in Europe, but it's a good league. Greek champions... They're a good side, managed by a Romanian guy called, hold there, Razvan Lucescu. I don't know anything about him, but...
Sounds Romanian.
Apparently he is. I did look this up. All right, we've also got Porto away. I don't know about you, but I'm getting like PTSD from that. The Estadio Dragao, and which is an amazing stadium, just sort of on top of the hill in Porto. Fantastic place to go. So there's a lot of United fans will have a really fun trip with that one. No doubt many of them will be entering the caves, the caves, where they have all the port tasting and having some merriment on the river there before heading to the ground. But yeah, PTSD from 2004.
Well, did we? Hang on a minute, Ed.
We did beat them afterwards.
I was going to say we've exercised that a little bit. I mean, we've had two stinkers. No one listening to this will remember, but we lost 5-2 there in '77 after we won the FA Cup. So we're in the Cup Winners' Cup. What a glorious tournament! They should bring that back. So what had happened before that game? United were. This even happened in '77, folks. United were scheduled to play a game in Tehran, a friendly game that was done for sponsorship reasons, and the players didn't really want to go, but they had to get inoculations for it, and that happened before they went out to Porto. So, but even though the Tehran game was like a week or two after that, so they ended up getting all the inoculations, and half a dozen of them felt ill with, they were really ill on that trip. So that accounted for why we got absolutely tonked 5-2 in that game. Now, interestingly, and although this is the only reason I'm on this, not for my friendliness or my dashing good looks, in the return leg, United won. No, actually, I think United lost 4-0 in that game, and they won 5-2 in the return because, that's what happened. Because United in the return game, when they came out, Old Trafford was roaring them into, come on, play and try and come back, and they nearly did it because they got really close. And obviously, we beat them 4-0 in '97. That was Ferguson's first great Europe Champions League night. Cantona, Giggs, and Cole were brilliant, and we drew 0-0 in the away game, which I remember that because Beckham shot from about 45 yards and it hit the bar, and it was like a proper pinger.
Well, talking of long-range efforts, of course, Ronaldo scored that banger against Porto. Was that 2000? I forget what year that was.
2009, because it was in the quarters, because we went through to Arsenal. So what a goal! All right, that was.
So we've gone through Rangers, Porto, PAOK, Fenerbahce. We've then got Bodo Glimt, who apparently were great in qualification for this. I have no idea, and it'll be the smallest stadium we go to. Oh no, that's home. Sorry, we've got Bodo Glimt at home. Their fans carry yellow toothbrushes around. I've no idea why. It's their thing. Like City fans and bananas, they have giant toothbrushes.
But much more hygienic. They've won 3 out of the 4 last Norwegian titles, right? So we lost to a worse Norwegian team in pre-season, admittedly with a second string. So let's not count any chickens with any of the games in the mighty Europa League.
I was a big fan of Bodo Glimt when they tanked Jose Mourinho's Roma side 6-1 a couple of years back. Enjoyed that quite a bit. Yeah. For petty reasons.
Of course.
All right. And then we have Victoria Plzeň, who were third in the Czech league. I guess Czechia now. And their manager is a goalkeeper. And I never like this. Name me a goalkeeper who's ever become a good manager.
Oh, that's good.
Maybe Dino Zoff, right? He became a decent manager, didn't he?
You have
a few titles.
That's some Wayne Barton-esque barrel scraping to find that one.
Desperate, yeah. That's the only one I can think of.
Yeah. There's probably one very glaring, obvious one. But a lot of them make good.
Ray
coaches.
Clements was a coach for a long time, wasn't he?
I was going to say, and the Bob Wilson was a good coach for a while, and then a better pundit afterwards. So
a goalkeeper's pundit. Bob Wilson was a good pundit. Peter Schmeichel, fantastic goalkeeper. Absolutely incomprehensible as a pundit. He just rambles on, and you're like, "What? I have no idea what you just said." Complete word salad, 100% of the time. Peter, if you want to come on the pod and explain yourself, you're welcome. So I don't know anything. Do you know anything about Victoria? I don't know. I don't think we've ever played them before, right?
No, we definitely haven't. Yeah, I don't know anything about them. I haven't even had time to do my research on them. That's as I did on Bodo.
We played at the Dusan Arena, 11,000 capacity. So that'll be one for Andy Mitten. He likes that kind of nonsense, doesn't he? Then we play FC Twente, of course, previously managed by Steve McLaren, and won the title with them back in 2000 something, 16,
And
15, 16.
Eric played for them. Ten Hag played for them
Eric
as well.
Ten Hag played for them for a few seasons. Yeah, he
So
did.
a reunion.
This one will be at home, but I did like that they're now sponsored by Grolsch, so their stadium is called the Grolsch Vesta.
Really? That's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It is.
But
and our final game is against FCSB, formerly Steaua Bucharest, of course, European champions in 1986. Nothing dodgy went on there at all.
Yeah, but I mean that's a romantic name, Steaua Bucharest. So
it is, isn't it?
I'm glad that we've
Ceausescu's got team, wasn't it? Steaua Bucharest.
So. Yeah, but I mean it was such a good crop of players in the early 90s, and I gather a few of them came from Steaua Bucharest. Was it Popescu, Petrescu? Who was the other ones?
Lupescu, the defender.
Hagi, obviously.
Hagi, yeah.
Oh, what a player!
Yeah. I do remember watching that final, actually, when they beat Barcelona on penalties and cheering them on, not really thinking about the implications of being, sponsored by a dictator who met rather a grisly end when the revolution came.
Anyone wanting to study European history of football in the sort of 80s and 90s, away from, obviously, the English connection with Heysel and everything like that, everything with Steaua Bucharest and Romanian football, and obviously Red Star Belgrade and their incredible team, and the unrest with the Yugoslavian, where everything fell apart, and there was like all those great teams that came apart from it, and then you were left thinking, if they were left together, that'd be probably a World Cup winning side. It's a really fascinating period in English history, English European football history. It is good to. I like the one thing, obviously, that we're not going to get in the Champions League because we don't deserve to be there because we're not good enough to. If you're going to play in this competition, it's good to play. It is good to play the lesser known names and get those relationships started. But it is very nice to sort of strike up those like old romantic flames with the teams you might not have played against, but they're romantic names of the past, and you want to make sure that you've got there's something there, shared history, and Steaua, they definitely got that, even if they've had the name change and everything. I will admit, I'll probably be on this podcast in 6 or 7 weeks extolling the virtues of everything that happened to Steaua Bucharest, but admittedly right now I don't know anything about why they did change the name or anything. Yeah.
Well, I think it's probably just to get away from the Steaua Bucharesti past, isn't it?
Yeah.
But FCSB, I mean, that's a call out to
it's
the
a
past,
bank,
right?
It's a bank.
So, it's a bank, yeah. Will United bank a win? Maybe. I mean, look, it would be absolutely incredible. It would take performance levels of, well, let's say last season to fail.
I was going to say it would take performance levels of Manchester United of last season. Yeah, that's a great way of putting that. Yeah.
We were absolutely terrible in the Champions League last season. We were incredibly bad in the Premier League and just got lucky to finish 8th. But, I mean, let's be real. United have got to qualify through this. I mean, obviously going away to Fenerbahce, not Turkish champions, but I think second in the Turkish Super League last season, will be a tough one. Porto away will be tough. The rest of them, you look at them and go, United should be winning 5 or 6 of these games, surely.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, all jokes aside, and we were defensively shambolic in the Champions League. Nobody can get away from that. But we were also injury-ridden through that campaign. I mean, and that was a really desperately poor time for it as well, because it was like every single week we were getting a different injury and someone was coming back and then they were picking up a knock. So there was no continuity in there. So if you don't have that at the best of times when you're a team who's trying to sort of rebuild, then it can completely devalue what you're trying to do. I can't imagine that we will be as unlucky this time round. Famous last words. And I feel like with all the benefit of like an extra year in the bank for Ten Hag, like fewer injuries.
Well, it's only the 5 so far. We're picking up 1 a week.
Yeah.
So,
What was it? 65 last season, was it?
yeah,
So,
we got to keep a table. Can we beat that record? What's more likely to be beaten? 65 injuries or 58 goals? So
well, that's a good question. Are you
it
doing an
is.
over or under on this one?
I've got the bet on over under. Yeah, I'll be at Carrington like chucking stones at their ankles. So just
What are you going on? Are you going? So we will go right now. Are you going over 65 or under?
under because that was freakish, and over 58 goals. That's my optimism. Everyone's telling me I'm negative on. I make some sarky comment, and I get 57 people going, "Oh, you're negative, Ed." So
Almost as many goals. There you
There's
go.
optimism for you. We will score more than 58 goals and get fewer than 65 injuries.
Yeah.
There you
Well,
go.
I think at 5 injuries so far, then we've got a good chance of. No, I'll go with you. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, we could beat it, but come on. All right, and for another prediction, United, I think ranked top coefficient in this Europa League. I think so. Let's say United are going to win the Europa League. How about that for a prediction?
That sounds good to me. Ed.
All right. Thanks, everyone. That was a run through, very quick run through. Oh, actually, maybe not a quick run through for the daily, but talking about the Europa League phase draw. Gets me going every time I say that. Mwah. They updated the Champions League music. I'm not sure if they updated the Europa League music or not. So maybe some dubstep. That'd be a proper tune, wouldn't it? All right, everyone. Wayne's horrified at that idea. See you later. Bye now.